Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about the huge changes happening in our economy and what the word work even means anymore. Seriously, the ground is shifting right under our feet, from the jobs we actually do to how we even count them. So let's just dive right in with a question that might change how you see your own time online. We usually think of work and, our free time as totally separate things. But in the digital age, those lines are getting blurrier and blurrier in ways that have massive consequences for the economy. To really wrap our heads around this new economy, we need to start with some new words. And maybe the most important term for us today is this idea called digital labor. So, what it boils down to is this: digital labor is all the human stuff that fuels the digital economy. It's that constant river of clicks, content, and data that trains AI systems and keeps our favorite platforms running. And when you realize that all that activity is the raw material driving, the multi-trillion-dollar valuations of big tech companies, you start to see just how important it really is. Okay, so look at this list. What's really wild is just how broad this category is. Of course, it includes the gig work we all see, like someone delivering our food. But it also covers these much less visible jobs, like the content moderators who have to remove harmful posts, or the people literally labeling images to teach an AI what a cat looks like. And yep, it even includes your own posts, your likes, and your shares on social media. And this leads us to one of the most fascinating and kind of surprising parts of this whole story: the massive, hidden human workforce that's powering services we all think are completely automated. Researchers have a name for this. They call it ghost work, and it points to this amazing paradox, right? The more advanced and almost magical our technology seems, the more it often depends on this secret army of people working behind the scenes, handling all the messy, unpredictable stuff that the algorithms just can't figure out. This whole idea of hiding human work inside a machine, it is not new at all. Back in the 18th century, there was this famous machine called the Turk that wowed everybody by playing chess. The secret? There was literally a human chess master hidden inside the box. Today's AI is kind of the modern version of the Turk. It masks a ton of human effort to create this illusion of pure automation. Okay, so if so much of this new work is broken up into tiny tasks, or it's hidden or even unpaid, how on earth do we even start to measure it? Well, the tools we use to understand the job market have had to change big time. You can actually see the evolution here. We went from a physical book called the DOT, which was designed for a blue-collar factory world, to a flexible online database for the information age called ONET. And now, we even use something called real-time labor market information, which is basically just systems that are constantly scanning the internet for job postings to give us an instant snapshot of what employers are looking for. And this is so important to get. Even the numbers we hear all the time can be a little misleading. That official unemployment rate you hear on the news, that's the U3 rate. It only counts people who've actively looked for a job in the last 4 weeks. But the U6 measure gives us a much fuller picture. It also includes people who are underemployed, say they're working part-time but really want full-time work, and people who've just recently given up looking. And when you dig into the data, a really clear pattern emerges. In this changing economy, your level of education has a huge impact on your job prospects. Just look at the difference. The unemployment rate for college graduates is way lower than it is for folks without a high school diploma. So all of this change creates this fundamental tension, this huge tug-of-war for everyone: workers, businesses, and governments. How do you balance the economy's need for flexibility with a person's need for security? Well, some countries, especially Denmark, have tried to solve this with a model they call flexi-security. It's this attempt to build a golden triangle that combines flexible labor markets for companies with strong social safety nets and active policies like lifelong learning to help workers keep up and adapt. And the mind shift here is really profound. It's about moving away from the old idea of protecting one specific job for life and moving toward protecting a person's ability to stay employable over their whole career, helping them navigate all the job transitions that are pretty much inevitable now. Okay, but let's move beyond the big data and the policy models. What does all this change actually feel like for an individual? Let's bring this back down to the real-world impact on people's health, their attitudes, and just their basic sense of stability. We are seeing real, tangible shifts in how people think about their jobs. I mean, the whole trend of quiet quitting is a perfect example. It's not really about leaving a job. It's about workers drawing a line in the sand, rejecting that culture of always going above and beyond. It shows a deep change in the relationship between employees and employers. And the stakes for our well-being are incredibly high. The stress of all this economic uncertainty isn't just in our heads, it's physical. One study found that losing your job increased the odds of developing a new health condition by a staggering 83%. That's not just a number, that's a measure of the very real human cost of all this disruption. Which really leaves us with a huge question for the future. As more and more value gets created by digital labor, by ghost work, by all these things that don't fit our old definitions, how do we learn to properly see and measure and, most importantly, value all the work that's building our modern world? Thanks for watching.